Your eye color is a survival code, not a metaphor, an actual biological code that your ancestors wrote over thousands of years, in specific climates, under specific threats, in places you've probably never been. And it's sitting in your face right now. Most people never think about why their eyes are a particular color. They just accept it, like height, like shoe size. Just a detail. But it isn't a detail, it's a record. And once you understand what each color actually means, you start seeing yourself and everyone around you completely differently. Over 70% of people carry the original version. The rest carry something that mutated later, and the story of how and why those mutations happened is one of the most remarkable things I've ever come across. Stay until the very end. The last color has one fact attached to it that stopped me completely. Brown eyes are the oldest eye color on Earth. Every other color came later. Mutations, accidents, departures from the original blueprint. Brown was the blueprint, and nature kept it dominant for millions of years for one reason that has nothing to do with aesthetics. That deep, rich color comes from melanin, a pigment so dense it intercepts up to 90% of incoming light before it reaches the sensitive tissue at the back of your eye. Scientists at the University of Copenhagen confirmed it works essentially as a permanent internal filter, not something your eye produces when it needs it, not something you apply, something that lives inside your iris and works every second your eyes are open. For human beings living under relentless equatorial sun for thousands of years, this was the difference between eyes that lasted and eyes that didn't. Brown eyes also process bright light more efficiently than any other color. Because melanin pulls light in rather than bouncing it around, people with brown eyes experience less glare, less strain, and sharper clarity on intensely bright days. It's not a coincidence that brown eyes dominate in populations closest to the equator. The sun was a threat. Brown eyes were the solution that worked. Now here's something most people with brown eyes have seen and never understood. In soft evening light, candlelight, a low sunset, a lamp in a dark room, brown eyes sometimes reveal a flash of gold, a warm amber shimmer that appears and disappears depending on the angle. That's not a change. That's the internal architecture of the iris becoming visible for a moment. Brown eyes are built in distinct layers, denser and darker on the outside, lighter underneath. Flat daylight keeps it hidden. The right light briefly shows you what's actually there. Every person alive today with blue eyes traces back to a single individual. One person. Somewhere between 6 and 10,000 years ago, scientists pinpointed this to one mutation in a gene called HERC2. That mutation did one thing. It turned off the cellular mechanism responsible for producing dark pigment in the iris. Before it happened, no blue eyes existed anywhere on Earth, not one. After it happened, they spread across an entire continent. But here's the part that genuinely surprised me. Blue eyes have no blue in them. There is no blue pigment inside a human iris. What creates the color is an almost total absence of melanin. And when light enters an eye with almost nothing to absorb it, shorter wavelengths scatter outward and the eye reads as blue. It's identical to the reason the sky appears blue. The atmosphere has nothing blue in it either. It's the same optical phenomenon happening in two completely different places, which is why blue eyes never look exactly the same twice. Pale and icy in direct sunlight, gray and soft in low light. They shift constantly because they're not displaying a pigment, they're reflecting conditions. Now here's the question that puzzled researchers for decades. Blue eyes went from zero to dominant across Northern Europe in an evolutionarily tiny window of time. One theory, less melanin means more light reaching the retina, which may have sharpened vision during months of near-total winter darkness. Another theory is simpler and probably more honest. Blue eyes were so rare and striking in a world where everyone had brown eyes that they became deeply attractive. And attraction, compounded across thousands of generations, is one of the most powerful forces in human genetics. But the discovery that rewrote the timeline completely. Ancient skeletal remains showed that the earliest blue-eyed Europeans had very dark skin. Not lighter skin, dark. Light eyes and light skin were assumed to be a package. They aren't. Blue eyes arrived first, in faces that would look nothing like we'd expect, thousands of years before skin began to lighten. The next color is so precisely calibrated that the slightest imbalance in any direction produces something else entirely. Nature threaded this needle exactly 2% of the time. Green eyes require a very specific ratio of melanin combined with a yellow pigment called lipochrome. Shift that ratio slightly in one direction, brown. Shift it slightly in the other, blue. The window where green actually forms is genuinely narrow, which is why so few people have it. But what separates green eyes from every other color on this list is something researchers call chemical instability, and it's extraordinary. Green eyes don't just appear to change, they physically change with their environment. Deep and forest dark in shadow, golden and warm in afternoon sun, almost teal next to blue fabric. The pigment itself responds differently to each light source. Every room, every time of day, different eyes. This quality made green eyes the subject of folklore for centuries. Medieval Europe connected them to witchcraft. Greek mythology treated them as a mark of the supernatural. Something about eyes that refuse to stay fixed has always unsettled people. Evolutionarily, a perfect equilibrium. Enough melanin for reasonable protection in bright conditions. Enough sensitivity to work well when light is scarce. Ideal for variable climates where the weather changes faster than you can adapt to it. In parts of Ireland and Scotland, up to 86% of some communities carry this color. There's something about those landscapes, the shifting light, the constant movement between brightness and cloud, that feels like an explanation. Your eye color is the record of a specific journey. Brown eyes were built for a sun that could blind. Blue eyes began as one person's accident and became a billion people's reality. Green eyes found the exact balance point between two extremes. Every color is a solution to a problem your ancestors actually faced. And that solution is looking back at you from the mirror right now.